Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome to another Loose Keys podcast. It has been a little while since Jake and I have gotten on here to chat about the industry, so it's good to be chatting here on video or audio with you here, Jake.
Yeah, you too, man. How you doing?
Yeah, doing all right. I can't believe we've almost gone through a whole month here without putting together a podcast. We really had no plan or scheduling for these, so it's
Right.
whatever. It is what it is.
But it's also the time of the year where like we live in a place. I mean, our geographical location is not that different, but like it's time of the year where we pretty much want to be enjoying as much time away as possible,
Right.
when we can. So we try to enjoy these months, and that means some weird scheduling overlap sometimes.
And that's what I kind of wanted to just riff on or chat here about, checking out and maybe vacations or unplugging a little bit. Recently, I took a little trip to Paris for Maeve's birthday, and then you were up in way top of Michigan there, and now you're checking out again for a wedding. So you're getting some good long weekends away here, and it feels good to check out for a little bit of time, even if I don't ever completely check out because I'm often like checking things or doing things on my phone or whatever mobile device I have with me. But that's just kind of who I am and kind of what happens when you have a business of very small few here. So it always has to keep going.
Right. When 50% of the staff is gone, when one of us goes on vacation, it makes it a little hard to juggle.
That's a weird thing. I was recently talking to someone else about that, about being like a small team like this. When someone is sick or checks out, even when Ethan was with us, just one person being out, that's a third of the work that has to get moved around. So yeah, when we're down to like just you and me doing most of it here, it's like, oh, yep, one person is now 100% go.
Yeah, for sure.
But you need that time to get away from the computer and the internet. I can't even count how many windows and tabs I often have open while I'm working, listening to things, watching stuff. Tweets are coming in, emails, and it's tough some days.
Yeah, and so it sounds like what might come of this is more, obviously taking time off is a good thing. But I think also we'll probably have some other ways maybe we're trying when we're not on vacation to just like also make sure you unplug at the end of the day. Also make sure you take breaks during the day or whatever, like ways to not just completely overwhelm yourself.
Especially in the summer here, I know a lot of people end up working from home more often in the summer. Like you end up working at home all the time. I kind of go into this office that's also just me there, or freelancers, but then I've also been working at home quite a bit. And when you're doing that kind of situation where you don't leave, the days start to blend together. And if you end up working on the weekend or just kind of catching up or even doing tutorials, it all blends together and you have zero concept of the time or the day of the week. And that's not good.
Yeah. Being that I don't leave this house for work, everything is a day. This is just another hour in the long string of days that have been attached to one whole day. Yeah, it can be pretty crazy.
At least now you have a dog, so the dog is on like a schedule more so than humans or most of us have to be. Like animals prefer that schedule and they kind of like that, so it kind of drives you to know like, all right, well, now's the time to get up, or it's about 4 or 5 o'clock. This is when the dog expects to go outside, so you get that little breaks throughout the day. But having things like that, or even things like Taco Tuesdays, stuff like that just kind of drives through, so you know, like, oh yeah, okay, it's Tuesday, we do this now.
Yeah. Number one productivity tip, I think, if you guys take away anything from this, is get a dog, because there's mandatory belly rubs every so often, and you just have to do it. No, but yeah, I agree. Like things to, especially ways to like chill during the week when you're not taking like a full vacation to unplug, like having something you do regularly, whatever that is. Like recently for me, it's been, there's a group of guys out here that plays basketball on Sundays. So like I know every Sunday morning, like first thing, I'm waking up and I have something to do, to go definitely not be anywhere near a phone or a computer or anything. And that stuff keeps me sane because it gives me like a different outlet to both like exercise, which is always good for you, and just not think about work. Sometimes your work becomes better when you don't think about work. It's really strange. Sounds weird to say.
Right, because especially being in a creative field, checking out or getting your eyes off the screen for a little bit, you have that moment to think, to process some of the things that you've been dealing with or concepting, and then you come to better conclusions when you're not forced into them.
Yeah.
I remember back in like the early days of starting LooseKeys and the 37 signals kind of air of like meetings are bad and forcing people to sit down to brainstorm at these moments are bad because brainstorming just happens or ideas happen at all hours. And start to see that when you're just kind of at the computer all day. It's like I'm just doing what I think is right, and I'm not thinking if there's a better way to do this.
Well, and plus I think grinding for so long, you tend to, you probably find yourself, if you're saying to yourself, like, I feel like I'm doing the same thing all the time, or like I'm creating the same art or the same like type of style of character or whatever it might be for your industry or your job in particular, it's probably because a big reason might be that you're just grinding on it and you're not like, you need to go out and absorb other things and you need to be present in those things. I was telling you pre-show, like, I don't watch a ton of things like entertainment stuff outside of what we do for our podcast. Like that's when I watch cartoons or other podcasts. And I noticed it's because I'm always on, like, I put it on a second monitor. So I'm like here focused on doing work or something, but I'm like kind of paying attention. And then I get mad at myself because I'm like, oh, I have no idea what happened in the show. That sort of thing. Like we were talking pre-show, I intentionally put my phone away, turned off my computers, and just watched something that I wanted to watch the other night. And it sounds so silly, but like the intention to do that, to not get distracted after 5 or 10 minutes, felt like amazing. So
that's why I could never watch Game of Thrones. There's too many people on that show. And if you turn away to look at your phone or check something for a moment, somebody is dead or someone's having sex with someone that you don't know who they are, and you're lost.
Like, there's got to be something to this. Yeah. You brought up the tabs thing earlier too. I think just as another like small tip that I'm trying to be better about. I'm definitely not perfect. Is can't remember where I saw this years ago, but I'm trying it again now. Is I have the bookmark app, Get Pocket. I think there's also like Instapaper, one of them, or like there was another one like that. And basically, like, I tell myself if I find an interesting tab, because you guys are always sharing so many cool things on Twitter, like, oh, check out this plugin. Here's a quick tip. Here's an article about what the next software update, whatever it is. Like, every time you click on one of those and you have a tab, to me, a tab is like anxiety. Multiply that by how many tabs you have, and suddenly you're like crushed by them, right? So getting one of these apps and just saying, when I notice I'm like kind of getting distracted or starting to read it or starting to watch a video or something like that that's not the job or the task that I should be focusing on, I literally save it and I make a goal to be like, I only look at these links when I'm sitting on the couch later or on my tablet. Like, I will not look at these while I'm on the computer. You know, it's not perfect, and of course it takes some discipline to like get used to it, but it makes me feel better about, like, I know I wanted to check this out. The intention was like, there's probably good information in here, and it's always good to keep learning, so keeping the resources there. But man, you could spend your whole day learning all kinds of stuff and not get your actual work done. So it's a weird juggling act there.
Yeah. Then circling back to the vacation idea, or like getting really away from the computer, like, you know, doing it in your house, or, you know, managing your own discipline there to like put away your phone or things like that. But vacations, I think, do really recharge you. Like, they remind you not only that it's good to get away, but they remind you like how much you do enjoy doing what you do, right? Like, it's great to, you know, sit on the beach or sit by the water and read a book or draw. But when you come back, you're like, oh man, I do like animating, or I do like designing and creating this thing. Like, this is why I got into it in the first place. So it kind of, I think it fills that fuel there, those vacations, even if they're long weekends or whole weeks away. Like, it's just nice.
Yeah, I would recommend, if you go on vacation, do so without Wi-Fi if possible, because the less stuff of your regular stuff, whether it's like I watch Twitch streams during the day or I watch these shows during the week, the less of that stuff you have means you can like enjoy this different experience from your everyday life and like remember it better too. Like, oh, I remember this trip I had up north because I wasn't just on my tablet in a different place, that kind of thing. Or it also helps you remember in ways like you're saying, like drawing. Our recent trip, I did a Doodle. I was testing a new app on my iPad, and I was like, well, it's 4th of July. I had this idea one morning when I woke up. I'll just draw it, and then I guess I'll share it that day, which sounds like work, but it was like, I don't know, I have all this time. You realize how much time there is when you're on vacation and you don't have a task list or a schedule and stuff like that. So it was a good way to just free me up to do that thing.
Yeah, it's hard to not have Wi-Fi or be connected to the internet when you're away, but that was kind of fun being over in Paris. Like, you're on a completely different schedule. So kind of when your day is ending, or my day was ending there, the day is starting in the US. So you go all day and there's no news and no one talking to you because, one, you don't really know what's happening in France with the news or anything like that, and you can't read it, so you don't check it.
Right.
And there's no news that gets reported at 2 a.m. So there's nothing to check. And so then you could kind of, when you get back, it's kind of like you said, like you do with sit on the couch and go through your iPad. It's like, oh, well, let me see what today's looking like in America, but I'm going to sleep. And then the day happens and you wake up, you can quickly scroll through things or get any alerts if something happened, and then continue on your day without any distractions. It's kind of amazing. I know we have a friend, Brian McCulley, who works at Flavor. He kind of works on the same schedule as America, or on the Chicago time, but I'm sure he went through that early on, being like, oh, I just get a lot done because no one's talking to me during the day.
Right. You should mention that he's in Spain, right?
Yeah, he's in Spain. Yeah.
Yeah. So works on a time zone, but like has that moment of, or at least probably a couple hours a day where you could just focus because you don't have a bunch of tasks lists. Like as soon as 9 a.m. hits for a lot of places, like people are just on you about stuff, or you're checking your email and stuff like that. Like it's a weird thing. And we're obviously like running this business, but like if you're a freelancer, you're probably dealing with this a lot more because you're the business person too. Like you can't just know that I definitely have 8 hours to dump into this project today. Well, you probably got to spend a lot of time inquiring about stuff, reaching out to other people, and doing all these sorts of other things. Like that can be hectic, man, to like want to live this creative life, to pursue like creating these things, which a lot of times obviously in our industry is for advertising or whatever, but whether it's personal projects or whatever it is, to want to pursue this stuff, but also know there's like a lot of administrative stuff. It can be a bit kind of a crazy juggling act.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah. I know that firsthand, and that's kind of why I often have a hard time checking out, because, there's no moment where there's not something that you could possibly be doing. That's probably the problem with the creative industry as a whole. There's never a moment where it feels like there isn't something to do or learn or practice, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I was trying to flip it on a positive to myself recently, which was like the interesting thing, or it's like the scary thing about creative work is that there's never an end. But the cool thing is that there's never an end. But somehow, for some reason, maybe it's when you're more burnt out, it seems more the negative end, where you feel like it's a pile that you can't get through. But also, it's kind of neat that there's always opportunities to make things, to share things, that sort of thing. And yeah, it's weird thinking about like other industries. We don't have experience with that, so we don't know. Like if you work in the food service industry, do you come home and you're just like done today? Like it's a weird thing to feel like, especially with social media, with how popular Instagram is for our community now. Like it feels like you always got to be staying on top of stuff, and that can be a drag. So I think you got to plan those vacations to get away, honestly, to not feel like you need to do that, because we're all sane, normal people, and we all need time to recharge and to figure out what's next, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the thinking and planning forward is the toughest part. And I know people ask all the time, like especially we have this business or just in life, people are like, what's your 5-year plan or 10-year plan? It's like, man, I'm just trying to make it through till next year, and then I'll think about it then. Like I can't think 5 years in the creative industry that changes on a dime, and there's new technology that comes out. Like, who knows? Vertical video. Now I gotta make that. You just kind of go.
Could have a whole episode on vertical video. I don't want to.
You'd love it.
Oh my gosh.
Do this whole thing vertical.
Yeah. So I think there's merit in not merit. That's not the right word I'm looking for. But like, essentially, what we're saying is, there are moments during the day, your everyday, where being creative often requires hours of long focus and things like that. And there are 100 other things begging for your attention every single day. So I think we did throw in a couple little tips here that like, whether it's saving stuff for later or trying to be more disciplined about that, or you mentioned like having a regular thing every week to kind of keep you sane. But also like really just try to like be present in your vacations when you do take time
Or
off.
take vacations, right? Like make sure you take time off. Like even if it's just a weekend at the lake, that's 2 towns over, or it doesn't have to be something crazy. Like just do something that's away from your everyday life.
I know, and I know a lot of freelancers joke that the coolest jobs always come in right when you book a vacation, basically, right? Like that's how it works. And that may be the case. However, I don't know. I have to imagine that the jobs will be there when you get back. Like you need to go be a human being too, and not just a person on a box crunching out some cool stuff.
Yeah, you're just a robot then at that point, right?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Nice. Well, cool. Yeah, I know. I'm definitely planning some trips coming up. You have a couple fun things coming up as well, so we'll be checking out here a few more times throughout the year, and recharging our batteries. So yeah. Looking forward to that. Well, thanks everyone for checking out this episode of the LooseKeys podcast. If you have any ideas or things you want to know about what we're doing here or thoughts on the industry, please leave us a comment, send us a message. Like we'll love to talk about it, share our insights, share our experience, and we'll be back with another one, hopefully sooner than a month, but we got a lot of jobs to do. There's stuff that comes up, vacations to take, so we'll be back when we can be. Take care.
Yeah. Take care.